Hello, everyone. So, how do you break rumination or break excessive thinking, worries, etc.? It's a common question I get. A lot of people get really focused on rumination as though it's something more difficult. A lot of people in the comments on this channel say, Sam, yes, but what about the rumination? So that's what I'm talking about here. I'm going to talk about three aspects to it that can really help you start to break the rumination or break the worry cycle, but without really trying. So that's what I want to talk about. The first thing to think about is that we all have thousands of thoughts a day. Every single person has thousands of thoughts a day. When people are ruminating, which is just a series of lots of thoughts, people get stuck because they're sensitized, thinking, gosh, how can I ever stop the thoughts? How can I stop the rumination? We don't need to, because every single person on this planet has thousands of thoughts a day, including yourself, and you can be just fine with them. A lot of people think that because there's so many thoughts, it's overwhelming, and how on earth am I going to recover when I've got so many thoughts coming in? It doesn't matter whether you have lots of thoughts coming into the mind. As I've just said, it's normal. The question is, are you worrying about it? So we have to come to some acceptance that everyone has thousands of thoughts. That's not the problem. We're designed to have many, many thoughts. What we are wanting to do is start to allow them and not resist them. So that's the second thing. If you can accept that we have thousands of thoughts, the only reason why you're reacting to them, or a lot of them are rumination or worries, or they start with what ifs, is because you're sensitized. So please watch my anxiety cure video series if you haven't already, to understand why you're anxious, because that's really important. Why your nervous is sensitized to a point where it's tired and it's now starting to react to different thoughts that you would not normally worry about. And then you add second fear. Please watch my video on adding second fear if you don't want to, what I'm talking about. Your body reacts, and that leads you to then add more fearful thoughts to the one that you currently had, or more what ifs, and that's fine. Again, we all have lots of thoughts and worries. Um, and so, what we're trying to do is to really understand what's going on and not resist them. So, that's the thing. We don't ever have to try and stop thoughts. We never have to try and push them aside, repress them, analyze them all, catch them all, anything like that. We just have to allow them in the background. So that's the good news. The first thing, again, is that we all have thousands of thoughts a day. That's not the problem. There's nothing wrong with that. We will all have them. We can be happy and perfectly functioning with them. The question is, are we reacting to them because of sensitization? Now, if you start to deal with sensitization and your nervous system calms down, the thoughts that you currently have will bother you less. So we don't need to change them. We don't need to get rid of them. We don't need to stop them. We don't need to forget the thoughts, all the worrying thoughts that we've had. Some people think, well, how am I ever going to relax when I have these thoughts? If your body doesn't react to an intrusive thought, a thought about a heart palpitation, a what if about the future, will I ever recover, a what if about sleep, a what if about something else. If your body's not reacting to them, it won't bother you. I was highly sensitized for a long time, but when I started to recover, and now with the work I do, now that I'm fully recovered for over 10 years, I can talk about anxiety. I can think lots of thoughts. I talk about difficult thoughts that people are having all day. I have them, and now I don't react to them. So I know all my difficult thoughts, all my worries. The question is, or the difference is that I don't react to them because I'm not sensitized. I have desensitized, and that's all we have to do. So we have to then to start to allow them. That's the good news. We allow the very thing we're scared of because we know they're all part of the bluff. Again, if you don't know what I mean when I'm talking about the bluff, watch the Anxiety Cure video series, and why we're being tricked into worrying about all the thoughts that come with the rumination, and it feels constant because of the release of adrenaline, the tension. We think a thought, have a corresponding feeling, whether we notice it or not, of tension in the body, and that keeps us in the cycle. So the good news is that we just have to allow the very thing that we've been worrying about, thinking we have to stop, thinking we have to catch all the thoughts, we have to reframe them, we have to be positive thinking, whatever it is. We don't have to do any of that. So that's the good news. Doesn't mean it's easy dealing with the rumination. So this it's hard because the body's reacting to all these thoughts, and that is unpleasant, and we it leads to adding second fear. So what we have to do to allow it is practice. So we have to allow the thoughts when the flight or fight's activated to allow them as best we can. And that's where we use the body to float through it. We know that we'll always get relief from how we feel. You always get relief from some of the rumination, whether it be a minute here, an hour there, half a day, 2 days. The relief always comes when the adrenaline dissipates. So if we know that, we have to learn to float through it. So if you go onto my website, openchange.com.au, to the anxiety tool shop, you can download some audio guided practices where I repeat over and over how we float and allow. There's one on setbacks too. There's also some guided practices on YouTube under the live tab. And that's all about helping you allow the rumination to process and run freely in the background, because what's behind rumination, it's just energy. So when the thoughts come up, we allow them go loose instead of tensing up against them, going into overthinking analysis mode. How will I recover? How will I cope? We do the very opposite of what the body's trying to get us to do, because we know it's a bluff. Highly unpleasant, not serious. We know that we'll always get relief, that if we let time pass. So what we want to start to do is allow the energy fueling the current cycle of thoughts, allow all the thoughts in the background, as you'll hear me talk about in these practices, as we go loose in the body. And that gives our mind something to do that doesn't suppress the thoughts, it doesn't try and change them, it doesn't try and get rid of them. But as we're loose and slowing down, the body starts to react less to the rumination, which then doesn't bother us, which allows us to desensitize. And that's how we move towards recovery. So again, everyone has thousands of thoughts a day. That's not a problem. We never need to try and change that. We don't need to stop thoughts. We don't need to reframe them. We don't need to push them aside. We don't need to catch them. We don't need to analyze them. That's the good news. We just allow that. But to put that into practice, there's those guided practices where I repeat the instructions over and over, because I know whilst the concept is simple, it's not easy. It's normal if you've got this habit of rumination, of thinking and worrying over and over about future past, that it's normal that it will take time to react less. And that's why with the guided practices, I repeat it over and over. That's why you've got the videos to use as well. If you want a bit of extra support and you're not sure if you're doing it the right way, you can always book in for a coaching session. Plus, there's the masterclasses as well, where I cover some of these topics, which you can purchase access to on the website too. I hope that makes sense. If you've got any comments or questions about rumination, please put them in the comments below and I'll try and get to them when I can. All the best, and I'm sure I'll see you again soon. Take care.